Hello, everyone, and welcome to another edition of Monster Party.
Monster Party!
Monster Party! Just working out my new Monster Party character.
I don't know about that.
Yeah, I don't like it either.
I don't know.
It's kind of
I
creepy.
didn't like it. It was sort of Elmo and the Crypt Keeper. I didn't know what was going on.
I don't know. You know what? But you got to take chances.
Yes, and we're taking a big chance with this show because it's a very special, exciting show.
That's right. And it's a topic we've been waiting to do for a long time. And waiting to find the right guest.
Yes.
The topic for this episode is Star Trek.
Everything Star Trek!
Anything, everything Star Trek, whatever you want to do. That music, for example,
Conventions.
which I always like to play in the bedroom. You know,
I do.
movies.
Yeah, I call my vagina.
Gentlemen, I
Voyager.
suggest you beam me aboard.
And who are you, sir?
I am Matt Weinhold,
I am SHAWN Sheridan.
I'm Larry Stroth,
And I'm James GONIS.
and our guest,
our very special guest.
special guest, longtime friend, talented comedian, writer, producer. What can't you do?
Maybe talk about Star Trek. I'm Sue Murphy. Potentially.
Well, that's our show. Ladies and gentlemen, Sue Murphy.
Yes!
Dun-dun-dun.
And I know that you know a lot about Star Trek. See, she's already going to it. She
Yeah.
knows a lot about Star Trek.
We've had many Star Trek encounters over the years.
Oh my gosh, have we?
Yeah, well,
Yeah.
Matt and I we met in many ways because of our love of Star Trek.
Are you serious?
Yeah.
You guys,
Yeah.
is that how you guys met?
Well, I had various Shatner bits in my act over the years.
Yeah.
And so that was open for mocking. And then, we ended up talking about Star Trek and then even went to a convention.
We went to a convention.
You did?
Yeah, we went to the convention.
Where was it though?
You did?
I'm excited.
It's as if I just said, and then Matt, and you did? We saved
How
a life.
dare
You
you.
wouldn't believe it.
Where exactly? Where was it?
It was held in a burning building.
It was held in the burning building. We ran in, saved a cat. It was at the Masonic Center.
the Masonic Secret Center
In San Francisco.
Wow.
So it was it was a Masonic hall, and
Okay.
they had this convention, and it was.
But this was like the early days when these
Oh,
like
this was-
small
this was early. This has
conventions.
gotta
it's got to
be-
be 20 years ago at
Okay,
least.
so it was
right?
back in the late 80s or something like that.
It was way before Comic-Con. It was
Okay.
way before anything like that. It was way, and it was, but they were a little established because I remember it was a big deal because William Shatner was speaking.
That's right. Yeah, Shatner was actually there.
Shatner was there, and also the Next Generation was on the air because
Frakes,
okay.
Jonathan Frakes.
because and Worf was there.
Worf was there.
We walked by
Michael
him.
Dorn?
Yeah, Michael Dorn. Yeah, sure.
So
why
it had
not?
to be like around 86 or 87.
Something like
or
that.
something
I'm
like
guessing,
that.
yeah.
Yeah,
that's about right.
Okay.
And we went. You had free tickets because, of course, you had an inn.
I just walked up and, I flashed my insignia, and they were like, yes, Captain Weinhold, come on in.
So you guys went to the convention. Did you get to meet Shatner, or did you?
No, I don't have that kind of pull.
Okay.
Yeah.
What was the best thing is because Matt had been obviously to other conventions before me, so he would right before something would happen, Matt would just say, "This is going to happen."
Okay.
We were in the room where like Shatner was going to speak, which is the huge theater, and it has two decks. There's a second in that huge Masonic theater.
Yeah,
And
it's
so
pretty
there's
big.
it's huge. It's got the whole balcony, and we were on the first floor near the stage there, looking at it. And when who's what's his name? It was one of the main Ferengis. He was
Ferenges?
Ferenges. It's a dance.
It's Ferengi.
Have you ever done the
The
Ferengi?
Ferengi.
He's a main Ferengi. He was on Deep Space Nine. He owned the bar.
Armin Shimmerman.
Shimmerman.
Armin
So
Shimmerman.
he was introducing William Shatner. He came out first. Anyway, so he came out and he was speaking, and Matt right before leans over and he says he's going to start off with something very specific as a Star Trek joke, and we'll see.
Win over the crowd,
Go to the crowd, win over
Yeah.
the crowd, and he came out and he said, "How are the seats up in the Delta Quadrant?" And the place got insane. They're like, "Oh my god!"
Oh,
Cut to me smoking a cigar, looking smug.
And Matt just just give me a look like, well, called that
There you
one.
go.
that would have been me. If I got the contract.
The best thing though was Shatner came out and he got into his own books.
Oh, okay.
Oh, was that the Tech
War?
War?
Tech
War.
War.
Oh,
He was,
oh my God.
He was really pushing the books.
Yeah.
Right,
Yeah.
right.
Yeah.
But he started to tell this story that was about killing a bear because he had been hunting and horseback riding. I don't
Yeah.
know, but it was some.
And he's quite the storyteller.
And it went on. I mean, I can't. It was the most endless story, which had no point to it whatsoever.
It had nothing to do with Trek at all.
Yeah, it turned into it almost turned into a drinking game of like drink every time it gets even more off the point.
Really?
Yeah. I mean, it was intolerable.
But it was, it's William Shatner.
Yeah.
It's a Star Trek convention, and everyone's there sort of enraptured, but you could feel a little uneasy. Anyway, at some point, Matt turns to me and makes a joke about it, which was tied to our stand-up.
Because we knew this guy, Henry Cho.
Okay.
And Henry Cho is this Korean guy from the South. He's from Tennessee. And we worked with him a million times.
Yeah.
And nice guy, and has this joke about his friend, J.B. Stewart. And apparently the J and B don't really stand for anything. So when he was going to get his license, when he was filling out the application, when it said to put his name, he wanted to make sure that they understood that the J and B didn't stand for anything, so he put J only and B only. And so when he finally got his license, what he got on his license was Jonely Bonely Stewart. And that's the joke.
Okay.
So, and what happens is this bit, in his bit, goes on for 30 minutes in an act. I mean, it's endless, the Jonely. So Matt turns around to me and goes, if Shatner ends us with Jonely Bonely Stewart... I'll die. And at the point, I went, ha! Like that, laugh like this. When he's speaking. And 4 full-on, dressed from top to bottom Klingons that were a row in front of us, a little bit aside, turned around and went, I mean, not kind of, just...
So they were upset for you.
They were upset. But of course, which only made me happier than the idea that I could just piss off the Klingons. I had to push their buttons.
So, but Shatner, he wasn't really the greatest speaker or guest.
I love many things that he's in.
Yeah.
But when it comes to telling those stories, oh my God, they go on and on. He has the story about being with Coco the gorilla.
Yeah.
And he tells that every single time, and it's just like, oh.
Did he write
man.
those Tech War books, or was it? They
Supposedly,
had to have been ghostwritten.
Well, supposedly he
so,
did.
yeah.
He did. Wow. But Matt, unlike Shatner, my first convention that I went to was also in San Francisco, but the guest of honor was actually James Doohan, and who plays Scotty. And I have to tell you, when he came out, and I mean, the audience went nuts. And from the moment
came out at the convention,
he came out on stage.
He came
out on stage. He came out on stage, and he went to this big thing. No. He came out and he did this big thing on stage, and the crowd just went nuts. And he just started right from the get-go talking about Star Trek and how he came up with this character and the accents that he did, and he was hilarious and he was wonderful. And it's actually people like him and George Takei and Nichelle Nichols who would actually do these conventions. I mean, I think Shatner came to it late in the game.
I think he just got tired after a while.
And every once in a while he'd show up when there was a really big one. But he would, like, those guys were always available to sign stuff, and Shatner would never sign anything. And he'd do his little boring stories, and then he'd leave.
But ultimately, also, that was their career.
Yeah.
I mean,
Yeah.
William
Right,
Shatner was
exactly.
moving on and was
Sure.
getting work. I mean, these guys were getting paid to go, and it was which is great. I don't begrudge them at all, but that's one of the reasons why they're there. That was the extension of their career.
Yeah,
But you could argue, though, that he always seemed to work in something or another. He was available for Kingdom of the Spiders.
He
Fine.
did. He did
Yeah.
T.J. Hooker.
He was in
T.J.
T.J. Hooker. Okay, so that's
Yeah.
like a...
Are we doing a T.J. Hooker show? Because I will do that.
We have now changed the topic.
No.
to T.J. Hooker.
I'm just saying that William Shatner did T.J. Hooker. Okay.
Greetings, everyone, and welcome to Monster Party. Our topic:
No.
T.J. Hooker
No,
and other
no.
cop shows.
No.
Heather Locklear.
But these. But I think that Shatner. I mean, I think after Star Trek, I think he tried to distance himself from it. Whereas the others, they were doing these conventions and they were making money doing that. But also, they were very passionate about Star Trek, and they got people very excited. And actually, I think these are the people that really kept Star Trek alive for many years.
True, and the minute that Shatner embraced it,
Yeah.
it seemed like things started to go even better for him.
Well, Shatner did his
He got more
famous
opportunity.
I think turning point was that Saturday Night Live sketch,
Yeah.
right?
Right.
That Get a Life, convention.
yeah.
skit.
Yeah.
That he kind of like was making fun of it, but then also kind of embracing it. Then,
But that was right after. That was right after Star Trek
4. I don't know. I want to
Four.
know if it was 4.
4. It was 4.
Really? Was it that?
Yeah, the voyage home.
So.
Okay.
I think so.
I
yeah.
think so. Yeah.
'Cause now he was funny.
Well, because it had reached a certain level of popularity. See, the thing that people forget too is there was a time when Star Trek, it's just nerdy people. It's just nerdy people getting into it. Star Trek: The Motion Picture came out 78, 79, and possibly because of the success of Star Wars. Star Wars comes out and Paramount says, "Oh my God, well here's a science fiction property we should kind of like work on."
Absolutely.
And so Star Trek 1 motion picture, satisfies the Star Trek fans. Star Trek 2 really satisfied us.
Let's step back for a second because when you go back to the original Star Trek, when it was originally on the air, Star Trek was in no way a runaway hit show.
No, not at
and
all.
In fact, after the second season, it was, I believe it was scheduled to be canceled, but there was, at the time, this huge writing campaign from fans who wrote into Paramount, and they brought it back for another season. So it stayed on for another season, then went away, and slowly, I think...
Because of syndication.
It was one of those first shows that you watched all the time in syndication, and it became a big thing, and the convention started building and building.
An episode every day on television.
Yeah, all the time.
And then you watch them all and start over again.
And that's all I think a lot of us remember is from syndication. And then, of course, Star Wars came out, and then there was giant Superman movies, and they felt, okay, we have to give Star Trek the Star Wars treatment as a giant big budget movie.
And yet they didn't do that.
No, they did do that, Matt. They did.
But Star Trek the first movie would never have happened, I don't think, if it wasn't for the success of Star Wars.
No.
But it was Wrath of Khan that what made a bigger impact and transcended.
Well, let's talk about Star Trek the motion picture first.
Okay.
Yeah.
Because
I would just say that Star Trek, though, broke a lot of barriers. The idea that fans keep shows on the air, that was not something that you would say.
Right. When did that ever happen?
The idea of conventions, which has certainly expanded with that. I mean, there's
that has to be the first show that got a convention, right?
That's what I would think. But I think there's a lot of things that because of the absolute commitment and zeal of Star Trek fans, it started to establish an entire model, an entirely different model for other shows, and not just sci-fi shows, to how they were produced and how people, and even now because think of it, now with shows that are launched on the internet or something that's on Amazon, and it's now you're dealing with these pockets of people and that's very much the Star Trek model.
Mm-hmm.
Totally, yeah.
And what's great about Star Trek is that it, as you were saying, it did kind of break the mold of what people expected from science fiction. Yeah, there was the Twilight Zone and there was Outer Limits, but those were anthology shows.
You didn't have Twilight Zone conventions.
That's great.
It also wasn't an alternative universe. It wasn't some sort of look into the future that could be a positive future.
It was a positive future.
No, Star Trek.
I'm talking about Star Trek. I'm talking about when you say outer limits, those things. It's not a universe that you're going into creating a universe. It's just all these different disparate stories.
And those science fiction anthologies tended to be very pessimistic.
Yeah.
And
it was always a dystopian. It was always something. Yeah,
exactly.
Dystopian. Where's
dystopia? Yeah, we got to get. Where's Overton?
No, you're right. Star Trek is very optimistic. It was a very optimistic look at the future. It was interracial cast, which was very different at the time.
Not into belongings. People supposedly that we have gotten past a collection of stuff.
Women in the military only wearing miniskirts.
That's always a good idea. Was there a Star Trek tailhook episode?
Probably every other week. Yeah. Whenever Shatner got into town. Why is that music playing? You're hurting me.
In addition to the movies, they also
Stop pretending, Janice.
It wasn't. Star Trek didn't come out with a lot of. There weren't a lot of great toys when Star Trek first came out. I didn't actually get into it until when I went into syndication. But I remember going to Gold Circle. This is around 1976.
What was Gold Circle?
Gold Circle was like,
that was your bedroom.
Like Gemco.
It's a nickname for your bedroom.
No, it's like Gemco or like a Kmart kind of a place. And there, on sale for $1.99, were these Mego Star Trek figures.
Mego, I think, was one of the first companies to put out Star Trek figures, right?
And believe it or not, Sean, what I did is I had like $4.25, and I got my first two figures, Mr. Spock and the Gorn. Oh, I was like so excited.
The Gorn?
Yeah.
I have the Gorn.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh, that's right. Yeah,
That's right.
Which
And he
wasn't the best.
He wasn't.
Gorn,
he wasn't like.
know.
He wasn't. He didn't look like the Gorn exactly in the episode.
Right.
He was actually the Lizard Man from
Right,
Spider-Man.
right.
But still,
Gorn.
still was pretty cool. But I got those
Gorn over Kirk.
Well, but here's what happened because
Kirk and Gorn.
I wanted them, but then all of a sudden, I was saving some aluminum cans. I took the aluminum cans, got like another couple bucks, and I went back and I got Captain Kirk.
Because you have to reenact
slowly but surely within the past, like it took me 2 or 3 months, but believe it or not, I got every Star Trek Mego.
Wow! Did you get the Romulan?
I did,
because the Romulan became really rare.
Yes, I still have him. As a matter of fact, I have the entire set and the Star Trek bridge.
Are you sure it's the Gorn or not the Geico Gecko?
No. It's the Gorn. It's the Gorn.
Okay.
Yes, and he's got like a kind of a brown head.
Oh,
and he looks like the lizard.
It's the brown head Gorn.
And it's
you know what I'm talking about.
It doesn't
too.
come until like 20-something years later when we actually get a Gorn that really looks like the Gorn.
Right. I don't want to see your brown haired Gorn. Brown-head Gorn.
He's not brown haired. It's like brown skin.
That's my internet trolling name. Brownhead Gorn. Brownhead Gorn.
What's really cool
That's
about
the name I used to dance under. It's so weird.
I saw your show.
Welcome to the stage, brown hair Gorn.
Wow.
The one thing I don't have that I really
didn't know a
wanted to
vagina
get.
could do sleight of hand.
It's amazing.
Yeah.
They also
I call that the Planet Eater. If you remember that episode.
They also came out with Mission Gamma 4, which is actually, it's like a little playset, and it has like little. You had that?
I had it.
What did you do to
I
it?
Burned it.
Oh my God! Are you serious? You burned it?
I burned everything as a kid.
Oh my God! You're like a pyro. I can't believe all the stuff that you destroyed.
See, I put firecrackers in
Larry,
set them on fire.
Do you know how much that thing is worth?
Some kids had this thing called anger. And the toy represented our friends or our parents at times.
You don't want to destroy something you love and cherish. I mean, I took really good care of.
I got hours of enjoyment out of it.
I'm sure you
did. Are they
did.
still mint and packaged, Larry?
They're not mint and packaged. They are out, but I have the backings for each of the figures. Yeah.
I have a question. I have a question for this group because obviously you're all very involved with the Star Trek because I can barely see you over the action figures on the table.
Yeah, we do have a lot of Star Trek figures here on the table here.
I don't know if that's a tribble, but I hope it is.
It's all my body hair that I
just save it.
Oh my God, are you?
Yeah, I'm sorry that you touched it.
But this is when the Next Generation started. Were you immediately into it?
Oh, very good question.
Because I know from my experience,
Sure.
I didn't watch it at the beginning.
I was very excited about it, and I started watching it from the beginning, but it took me quite a while to. We're about to. The first couple seasons were a little.
They were very rocky.
Yeah.
But I came in maybe 3 years into it. I think I got the flu, and it had already was moving into. It was on every day.
Yeah.
And laid on my couch and. Watch 1, 2, 3, or 5, boom,
watching.
and it was what was fun for me though. Then it was I got the thrill of every now and then running across an episode I hadn't seen.
Yeah,
where I just go, oh my God, I haven't seen this one. But I didn't embrace it initially.
No.
Well, when I saw it from the very beginning, I was really looking forward to it.
Yeah, me too.
And I think I got all the toys before the show even aired.
Oh, really?
Yeah,
I
was really excited about it.
There was a lot of hype.
There was a lot of hype.
There was a lot of hype.
It was a big deal.
Really, because I was completely unaware of that. In the world that you were traveling
in
at
Nerd
the time.
World,
Yeah.
it was
and remember,
a big thing.
And remember, Roddenberry did something really revolutionary. He's like, you know what? We're not going to go to a major network. We're going to go and remember.
That's right.
It was
It was syndicated,
smaller.
right?
It was syndicated.
Yeah.
And this was the first time where something that was a
Straight
big
to
budget.
syndication?
Yes, it was a big budget. I think it was $1 million per episode.
$1 million per
$1 million
episode.
per episode.
Chalk that up to another groundbreaking Star Trek moment.
Yes, exactly.
Yes.
So they knew.
Really?
They knew. They anticipated that. These are going to be repeated over and over and over again. People are going to watch them, and so you're going to make your money over the long period of time.
But that's what I think. That I think a lot of every show that we like now that's genre related, from Walking Dead to Game of Thrones to any science fiction show, absolutely, Battlestar Galactica, I think owes a debt of gratitude to the Next Generation, because the Next Generation, I think, really marked the new wave of hey, put a lot of money into something, make it look good. Get real actors, give it some time to catch on. And that's when I started watching it from the very first episode, I had problems with it, but I was also really impressed. I was like, You know what? They're trying.
Yeah,
they are really trying.
At the time, too, it looked really good.
It looked great,
I know now it might look dated when you look at the first couple seasons of the show, but at the time, the effects and just the bridge and the set, it was great.
Yeah. And it also wasn't an obvious rehash of the original series.
Not at
They
all.
went in different directions. Picard was not Kirk.
No.
Yeah, and I gave it a lot of credit for that, too. They didn't, sort of, Jonathan Frakes was kind of like, Shatner-like.
He was Kirk-esque.
Yeah, Kirk-esque,
Well,
definitely.
and they brought back number 1 from the original episode.
They did. They brought that
from
back.
the original.
Who was that?
No, that was
who played number 1 in the original.
I believe it was Spock, wasn't it?
No. You're talking about you're talking about the cage.
The cage in the pilot.
That was Majel Barrett.
That's
Majel
right.
Barrett.
Or Majel Barrett Roddenberry.
Yeah,
I wonder if
she wasn't Majel Barrett Roddenberry at that time.
Well, she might as well have been.
Well,
talk to his wife about that.
That's another story.
Yeah,
we'll say that for another time.
She swims.
But she. Look. Like you guys, I remember I was so excited. It was actually in college when it came out, and there was like a whole group of us watching on a big screen. And everyone was excited. Everybody wanted to really like this. It was a big deal. At the end of it, there was kind of like this.
Exactly.
But but my feeling was, not all the classic Star Treks either were great too. I'm going to stick with it. I'm going to stick with it.
Exactly.
And I'm going to stick with it for the
Stepping
season.
into Eden.
No,
yeah, brother.
that used to be one of my least favorite episodes, but I've grown to like that one. I'm just, and that's
but you're right though.
But getting back to the Next Generation, though,
took a while,
but I stuck with it, and you know what? It got better and better.
It got better, and then it got bad again in the last season.
Yeah, and you know what my response would be to this? If you know this character, don't you think I know that? William Windom playing Vader.
That's a great.
I know that.
Commander Decker.
So now
that is awesome.
That is really great. So now we're going into
that's the
Star
first
Trek
William
lines.
Windom impression I think I've heard ever.
That's really good.
I love that
I'm
episode,
trying
too.
to establish my credibility.
Can I do an impression?
Sure.
This is my impression of, we're going to jump ahead just briefly.
Okay, because I want to do an impression too.
We're going to do, this is an impression of, this is Star Trek 3 movie.
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
Search for Spock.
Okay.
And this is how quickly Captain Kirk gets over the death of his son.
Okay.
You ready?
Yeah.
I'm ready.
Okay.
You Klingon bastard, you killed my son, you Klingon bastard. Who's hungry?
I don't
Pretty
remember.
much,
I don't remember that line in.
It's in there. Just go back.
Are you sure?
Yeah.
Okay. Here's my.
It's in the novel.
Okay,
It's not only who's hungry. I think it's who's hungry. It's like I smell something cooking. I think it's that. I smell something.
Who's
cooking.
hungry, bitches?
Okay. Here's mine. Here we go. It's from classic Star Trek. Here we go. And pain. Who's that?
Well,
that would be Spock in
Yes.
Devil in the Dark.
Yes.
Oh, yes.
And he's on the Horta. He's on the Horta.
You
Very
so
good.
I
Very good.
love
All right.
that. And
Because
you know what's-
they're
I got
crushing their eggs.
Yes, but you know what I love? This is what I love about that episode, okay? When they're filming that scene, and Leonard Nimoy, as Spock, leans down and he's touching the creature. And we know it's there's a guy underneath there, with the little rug. Just bear with me here. And it's very
don't know
quiet.
that.
It's very quiet.
It was
And then you hear
fucked up Roomba.
No. You hear Leonard Nimoy go, pain, when he does it. It's so loud. You see the Horta go, ah! It kind of shakes. It kind of freaks out. Whoa!
And the Horta burns into the rock. Hey, I'm right here.
I think
Say it, don't spray it.
But that's when we learned that Spock could touch lava.
Well,
it's not really lava.
It's not really
It's
lava.
it looks like lava.
They melted rocks. That's why they were using them to mine.
But I guess they could use it. They could do it.
because they
it
could move it
secretes-
so
it
fast.
It's secreted at a certain time.
Yes.
Exactly.
All right, okay. Now we've covered a little
If
bit.
you
of
read
Next
some of my
Generation.
fan fiction, you'd
I'm
know.
moving on.
She's
I'm
moving
taking
on.
over this because there's
Okay.
so much to talk about. Because
There
we
is.
have Deep Space Nine.
Deep Space
we have,
Nine.
we have
One of my favorites.
The Enterprise.
You
what
like
is
Deep
it?
Space Nine?
Love it.
Oh, okay.
I have not.
You're wrong.
Wait. How do you feel about?
No,
how do you feel about Deep Space Nine? I have
Go ahead.
seen maybe 1/10 of one episode of Deep Space Nine.
Okay.
Which I'm surprised at because now Sue is someone who has a particular affinity for the Klingons. Loves Klingons.
No, I have a big beef with Hollywood about the Klingons. I do not understand.
Tell me about the Klingons.
Well, okay, first off, why do they not make a movie about going to war with the Klingons? I don't understand. It doesn't make any sense to me. It would be, to me...
Not a peace one.
Not a peace one. Not a lot of the Klingon council.
Yeah.
I don't... listen, they all wear the long vests like Maud.
Yeah.
It's like, Maud with a big ridge on her head.
Okay.
Walking around. I'm so upset. But anyway...
I'm going to get that figure made.
Who did it, Maud? With a thing on her head.
Sue.
Just talking about she had an abortion. It would be horrible.
And then there's Maud.
Maud. There is no word for I'm sorry. But
Arthur.
I'm talking about a real Klingon war.
No, I get it, Sue.
Bring back Ursula and the two women.
Yeah.
And when they're in the ships and really
Ursa and B'Etor.
Okay. Let me throw this out at you.
You have your Worf character.
Yes.
You have the Klingon characters.
Yes.
And they're torn.
Yes.
Because the Federation turns into being rather brutal. Not being as benign and really take some horrible actions. It's like when Picard ripped the heart out of the Borg in that movie. Which was that movie?
First Contact.
First Contact. When he it starts to get really brutal. It could be amazing.
Well, okay. Obviously, you want to know why don't we have this big battle between us and the Klingons? And I think obviously from the very beginning, the Klingons are kind of supposed to represent like Soviet Union, right? And there are issues. There are issues.
With,
I thought they were Mexico.
You're talking about back to the first series, right?
But my point is, there's always been tension. There's always been that tension, okay? And there have been little trysts here and there, little battles. Little battles here and there.
There was a little bit in a couple movies, but it's more interesting than what was that horrible movie where they were the people that were stretching the skin.
Oh my God, that was one of the worst.
That was Insurrection.
Star Trek Insurrection.
Yeah,
and it had that woman and those people, and they were on a fake ship being sent somewhere.
That movie I think takes the cake for the entire Star Trek universe as the dopiest aliens. It's like what do we do now? We've done so many aliens. Let's do aliens where they like to stretch their faces a lot.
Yeah, it was obviously written in Beverly Hills, and someone just came out of a plastic surgery.
F. Murray Abraham was the bad guy.
And he's an Academy Award-winning actor.
It was a terrible movie.
He was good as much as you could be, but he's no Borg. He's not the queen of the Borg with her snap her neck
Borg
at the
queen,
end.
Alice Krige. Yeah, she's
great.
It's funny you should say that because I do think that the ones that people remember are really 1 through 6. That's what the classic characters. When we start to get into generations, with the two, which
Next Generation has a really bad track record in the movies.
It's
First Contact. I like. Other than that,
it's not consistent. It's not consistent.
I don't even remember Nemesis.
See, that's just it. You don't even remember
it.
They're terrible.
And then, like when you see Data is like,
Was that Nemesis?
Data, when did you become 50?
That is how advanced the robots are in the future.
Make them look aged.
They age to make us feel better about ourselves.
Oh, I see.
To feel better about ourselves.
Androids need to moisturize as well. Okay, all right, okay. But so now getting back to Deep Space Nine. Deep Space Nine, I would think would be your show because there is so much Klingon action in that thing. It's full on Klingon war in that thing.
I know, and I like the Ferengi, and there's a lot going on.
Is it Ferengi?
I call them the Ferengi.
Okay,
we're the Ferengi.
Weren't we together in Las Vegas at the bar in the Hilton Star Trek bar? Were you there?
Oh, the Star Trek Experience? Did you guys ever do that?
I've done it a bunch of times, but I missed that place. That was great.
Oh, that was so good.
Pork's Bar.
That was cool.
Pork's
and it
Bar.
looked exactly like from the show.
And they had a Ferengi walking around. You know,
and a friend of mine, a comic that I worked with,
and then all of a sudden he wouldn't go away.
A guy who I worked with on the road at one point. He was twice I go to that ride.
Yeah.
First time I go in, I'm on that ride where you're on the the bridge
they make you
of
the crew.
Enterprise, and
it was at the Hilton Hotel.
Yeah.
Right, it's on the Hilton.
The Hilton Hotel.
Star Trek Experience.
And they create this whole experience where you get transported.
You're on a mission.
You get transported.
And you come onto the bridge, and you're supposedly, and all of a sudden some emergency happens, and you're supposed to. Yeah.
There are extras.
And there are people in uniform acting.
Right, they're walking around.
Why don't they do that anymore?
I know.
Well,
God,
the hotel's gone. It's been
build it again.
Okay. Anyway, Matt.
Where's Genesis when we need it? Build a Hilton Hotel in Las Vegas.
Kirk, you mean me Genesis torpedo?
Go on.
So anyway, so I go onto the bridge of the Enterprise. I'm like, this is really cool. And here comes this guy, extra, walking, ensign, walking across. And I go, that's the guy that opened for me a year ago. and he looks at me, and I look at him, and he gives me this look like, please don't fuck with me. Please don't fuck with me. Please don't fuck with me. I just want to get through this. And so then I go off and, a year later go back and do the ride again.
Okay.
Come off, and I think I'm with my now wife, Carrie, and we're in Quark's bar, and
You're married.
I am married.
Okay.
Yes.
Just want to clarify this on this particular
prove
podcast.
I have documentation.
Okay, good.
But so we're sitting at the bar having some, Romulan ale or whatever.
Absolutely.
And
Tranya. I had Tranya. You will relish it as much as I.
I had some Fereng guacamole. Whatever else they had there. I don't know. But so we're sitting there, and then all of a sudden this Klingon walks up. Are you Matt Weinhold? From the House of Comedy? I'm like, what the hell? And it's this guy.
Are you serious?
He's now been promoted to Klingon. That's awesome.
Oh, you know what?
And he was great.
So did he go on with it, or like?
No. He never. We had a full conversation about. So what are you doing? Never broke character.
That's awesome.
That's great.
Yeah, it was.
So he said, "I am out pillaging in the galaxy."
Well, I'm still SAG-AFTRA, but occasionally I do dinner theater. Hey, who books the Tribble gigs these days? Yes, there is a guy named Tribble who books comedy gigs. I swear to God.
Wow. I did that Star Trek experience, and it was really cool. I loved it. I was sorry to see it go.
That's one thing, like you said, Larry, about a show that, God, talk about creating a universe that spreads out into books and novelizations and fan fiction and radio, and I mean it's amazing. It's like, I think, Matt, we've talked about this. I'm surprised nobody's done a Star Trek anthology TV series.
I agree. I think that's a brilliant idea.
How would you?
So each episode is a story within the Star Trek universe.
Does it have to be with any of the characters?
It could be a Klingon episode.
It could
be
do anything.
Starfleet Academy.
Because that's the. I mean, to me, I feel like, because I'm a little bit separate. I'm not just into all science fiction. I'm just.
What?
I happen to be a fan of.
Get out.
Well, that's actually not true. But whatever. I do like science fiction.
Sure.
Obviously, but I think one of the main attractions of Star Trek is the universe of the idea of a positive future, an idea, and that's huge for a bunch of people that get into it. It has this thing of that. Oh, we're all going to get along. We're all, except for the aliens with the little antenna that has the little thing.
And
that has the radio.
It has a little radio in the head.
Do they all get the radio?
Those guys are assholes, and we know that.
They always rated your parade.
But then they redeem themselves in Star Trek Enterprise. But we'll.
That's true.
But
we are not even. I mean, we are not even.
We got another hour and a half.
No, we're not. I mean,
No, I know.
But yeah, I mean, that's the thing that is great. Star Trek creates this just massive universe, and that's why I always
that
like
you can add on to.
That you can always add on to. And I like the fact that what they did later, especially like post Next Generation, is they with Deep Space Nine, they got it to be a little grittier.
Yeah,
that there were faults, there were things that even within this sort of utopian future, there were bad people.
Sure,
and scandals did happen, and there was conspiracies and stuff like that. But good always sort of triumphed, and in our day and age, that's not a bad message to take with you when you're watching something.
How do you guys feel like? Okay, so we had classic Star Trek, Next Generation, Deep Space Nine,
Voyager.
We had Voyager and Enterprise, and then after that,
Voyager.
Someone. Now, I like Voyager. Okay, no,
really?
but,
Okay.
No.
Wait, hit the brakes.
No. I want
my impression. Here's my impression.
What?
Janeway.
Yes.
Okay, I can do that one.
Get off my shit.
Get out. That's so good.
What's wrong with that?
She was
great.
Good.
She was
really
great.
Good.
And let me tell you. Let me tell you something.
But you know what? They went too
forget.
far out.
It's a terrible show.
No, it is not a terrible show.
It is. They
not.
went too far out of the universe because what happened is because the ship got thrown so far.
They left the quadrant.
They left the quadrant.
Yes.
You had no Romulans.
Yes.
You had no Klingons.
Yes.
And it was all of a sudden you had to reintroduce it, and it's like you needed at least one touchstone. I thought
they finally brought back the Borg.
They brought back the Borg. Thank God the Borg are out.
But it was too late by that point.
No.
Do you agree with me on this?
No, I do.
Sean, will you write something to that effect?
See, this is what you're saying though is, they left their Star Trek universe. They went so far out, and they're out there all alone. And so they have these principles, these things that they learned and they were trained. And now it's like, what do you do with these principles when you're so far out in outer space?
I get the idea.
And I liked all these.
The idea is good.
I get the pitch.
No.
I get the pitch. It didn't work.
Just like Deep Space Nine or Next Generation, what they did is it took several episodes for them to really get up and get going.
Really?
I stuck with it. And you know what? They got better each season.
It did get better.
And I think that's really harsh to say that's a horrible show.
But it was
no.
Okay, lousy.
No,
it wasn't great.
I really enjoyed it, and it touched me.
Not the Kardashians. What are the names? With
the Kardashians.
Oh yeah,
the Kardashians.
Yes.
What's the name?
The Kardashians.
But they were basically, and they were the evil. They were
not
evil.
In Voyager. Not in Voyager.
They were not in
They
Voyager.
were in Deep Space Nine.
No, but they were also in Voyager.
Were they in Voyager?
They were
No,
in Voyager.
no,
Don't they have
no.
the necks, the little lizard
Yes,
necks?
that was Deep Space
They
Nine.
were in Voyager.
No, there were other lizard. There were other
No,
lizard.
you know you're-
type.
you know-
Wait,
Okay.
time.
Wait, hold on. Give me a second here.
I wish we could take callers.
What you're
That's all I want to say. We need more voices yelling about this.
This is what you're thinking of. I think you're thinking of the Kazon, which was the first bad guy of Voyager.
Yeah.
Which was a dumb villain, and I'll tell you why.
Well, wait. Let me just defend my thing, because every alien has a fucked up forehead, and that's how.
Well, that's
pretty
true.
much.
So the
That's
idea
true.
that I get them mixed up is, I think I can defend that.
I think I absolutely agree. There's
And I swore just once.
no, we have time.
There are other. You're picking on one alien.
Hold on, wait a minute. Here's the problem that I had with this, and tell me if you agree with this.
Okay.
This was, and granted, it was early seasons.
Yes.
You're on my ship. Tell me how.
And they're trying to escape. They're trying to go as
Run away.
close to Earth as
Yes.
they can get. They're trying to get back.
Yes.
And so the Kazon are constantly chasing them for God knows what reason. So the idea is that it just becomes this like car chase movie or something and that's the basis for an entire season of a science fiction show. You just have some alien race and why wouldn't you just go, this is more trouble than it's worth. Why
They
don't we
seem to be
stop?
leaving.
Yeah. Why don't we let them go and go back to subjugating our own universe? And I never got to me it was a non-starter when it came to any kind of drama.
Yeah, I don't think I'm going to disagree with you. When those episodes came on, those were not my favorite episodes. But you remember there were other great aliens. There were that alien race that trapped their ship, and they loved their holodeck technology, and they created this whole battle universe inside in the holodeck. They made the holodeck really huge, and that was it was like a 2-episode.
There were some good episodes.
And that was a great episode.
There were
Matt,
a handful.
Matt, there were more than a handful.
Yeah, okay, here's another problem I had with Voyager. There was one character that was introduced that I thought was such a great character for a show. They introduced Brad Dourif. And Brad Dourif was a sociopath.
Yeah.
We find out that he killed people.
Yeah.
And what you find out when Tuvok is giving him a mind meld or whatever, interrogating him, is that he goes, well, why did you kill that person? Mm-hmm. He goes, I didn't like the way he was looking at me. Mm-hmm. He goes, well, that's not logical. He goes, well, of course not. And then what they end up doing is that they keep him around for like one other episode, and then they kill him off. Mm-hmm. And I thought, what a wasted opportunity. What a great idea and an edgy thing to have on a Star Trek show is you have one crew member who is
just nuts.
And like a serial killer that you've got to maintain, you got to sequester him. And he at one point in that episode says, I don't think I can be with other crew members because I can't tell you that I'm not going to do this again.
But isn't it the whole story of, aren't there 2 ships that merge? Isn't it some sort of opposing ship that they end up being together out there? Isn't that the story?
You remember that? I don't know.
I heard the story that Voyager ended up, wasn't Voyager like chasing a ship, and then when they ended the way the hell out there, somehow something happened and they were together and they ended up having to be
what
on
gets them
one
out there?
ship?
Oh, man.
I think
I don't remember.
No, I think they were chasing some ship, and then they end up, and the other ship is destroyed, and they end up having to take that crew aboard.
Was the Maquis or something?
Might have been a Maquis, yeah.
And they were trying to take the ship aboard or something.
Yeah.
I don't know. That's why I think they ended up with like people that were not.
Yeah, the Maquis were like a Bajoran rebel.
They were trying to do
alliance.
something. That's why they had all that conflict that was on the ship. There was something like that.
Yeah. So all the stuff that you guys are bringing up, I mean, I thought that was all really cool. That was all kind of.
Did you
cool
ever watch
stuff.
Deep Space Nine?
I did.
And you didn't like that?
For a season, it was like one of those things where I watched it for like a whole season, and I tried to give it a second season, and I just could not get into it. And I think one of the reasons...
And I would also argue, too, that it gets better later.
And one of the reasons why is the thing about Voyager, what I liked is you are out in space, you are thrown out in outer space,
it's
as
more
opposed
like Lost.
to
Really
Deep Space Nine.
Lost,
Deep Space Nine, you're sitting there.
Yeah, but you see, you know what? Some of the greatest televisions of all time, shows of all time,
Barney Miller,
Cheers. No, I mean Cheers. All these things.
Yeah, I get it.
No, they're in a single place and people come in.
Right,
sure,
right.
I get it.
And
it's like a trading
you
post,
can bring out. It's a trading.
That's
post.
what Deep Space Nine is.
Everything.
It's like a science fiction Barney Miller. I get it. Yeah, I get it.
It is. You know what? And Matt would be an excellent fish in that situation.
Yeah,
but
I've got a lot of Vagoda qualities.
You know, perhaps Matt. Perhaps
the magic word. I got to drink a shot of whiskey.
Perhaps Matt, I need to review Deep Space Nine. I know there are a lot of people who are very passionate about Deep Space Nine,
and it's flawed too. I'm not going to lie.
And I guess what we could say is each of these series, they all have their great episodes and their weak episodes.
That is true.
Okay,
yes.
and some series are better than others.
Okay.
What gets me though, Matt, what gets me is so after this whole Star Trek universe, we've already created. There's this huge Star Trek universe that's created. And so what Paramount decides to do is, let's shake up everything. Let's redo Star Trek.
Well, of course, it's at the time where it's...
Yeah, but people who are watching the new Star Trek movies don't even know these.
Yeah.
They don't know anything.
It's like, why not? It's literally the most profitable and strongest franchises there is.
Yeah,
so
yeah.
But a great idea.
But Sean, what I disliked is when they came out with the new Star Trek with, Chris Pine, who I think makes a good Captain Kirk, though.
It's not a bad cast.
No, it's not a bad cast. But
he's a hot piece of ass. You got to say that, Larry.
Shit.
Come on, he is a hot piece of ass.
Okay, yeah, he's an attractive man.
Yeah, right. Yeah.
But I'm just going to say, what you do in this universe.
Saying that as a man,
I am. But what they do in this universe
Talk about a Kobe Mirashi. Oh, man.
They totally mess up the timeline. They said, let's mess up this timeline. So everything that in the Star Trek universe is not...
It's the word that I hate using. Everybody, it's the reboot, the reimagining, and all that. But... I'm definitely not a fan of the first Star Trek J.J. Abrams movie.
It's terrible. It's unwatchable.
It's pretty actually bad. It's a bad movie.
It's one of the worst movies I've ever seen.
I didn't hate it as much. We talked about it after. Matt and I talked about it. I did not hate it, but I think it was part of it is that the joy that goes through my body when I'm sitting in a dark theater.
Go on.
Sitting in a dark theater.
Yeah.
Just waiting, and that's the music. Dun, 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 and it starts like this. I just go like this. I go, oh, I'm going to die.
Yeah.
I am immediately. I'm just happy. I have to admit this. I'm at one of my happiest moments when I hear that and I go, it's going to be something new or whatever. Now it failed on so many ways, but I was just pleased to be back there.
Well, what about the season? I like the second one a lot better.
I did.
The second one?
I did.
I dislike that one even more.
It's still not a great. It's not the greatest
movie. It's like the
movie.
Wrath of Khan.
Yeah, well, yeah,
it's
but
the same thing.
At least better.
You can't do something new.
Well, that's true. No, you're right. That's true. Why rehash?
Larry, Sean, when I went into that theater. And I had no idea it was kind of retelling the Khan story.
Right.
And as I started to watch it, I went, what? Wait a minute. I got so pissed.
Well, because they probably figure, Khan is one of the most well-known characters in the universe, so why not kind of redo it,
Now, I hear this is going to surprise you. I agree with you.
We're friends now. We're friends now.
Let's just take a moment here. Let's take a moment. Let's all settle.
Okay.
By the way, I just want to point out the entire time there's been a phaser pointed right at me. And not kind of at me, right at my head.
And Larry's head has been in my lap the entire podcast.
Captain Kirk is pointing his phaser, and then there's an actual phaser.
So you agree with me?
Well, no. Here's the thing. I did enjoy that movie more. However, than the first one. But I would agree with you. Yes, they should have done something new.
Oh yeah, totally. I'm not saying it's the greatest movie,
I completely agree with that.
It was at least it was tolerable.
It was more fun. Mm-hmm. It was more fun than the first one. I thought the characters were way better defined. Mm-hmm. There was things that were like little nods to terrorism, and they're all
but the fight scene on the floating thing, that went on forever, and they should have.
I check out the last third of the movie.
Yeah.
But that fight went on
Yeah.
forever.
Yeah, it was lovely.
Yeah,
and then they actually moved locations and kept beating the crap.
And why do they need these? They've got a whole bunch of these sleeping super soldiers. Why do they need Khan's DNA? And there's just like so many.
There's so many fails on that point. It's like because they have it, it's right there.
The one thing I come away with this though, as irritated I was with those first two movies, I looked at these movies and I said, you know what? I don't think these movies are made for me. These movies are actually made for my niece or my nephews who are in their early 20s or something, and they love it.
That will become their Star Trek.
Exactly, that's their Star Trek.
Like
so if I come away with anything, it's like, you know what? I'm not really a big fan of these movies, but what Star Trek represents, what it's all about, it continues to go on. This is a TV series that started back in 1966. Here we are in 2015.
How many series later?
And
movies?
it's like
it's crazy.
Star Trek is still with us and still growing strong.
I would like to hear what you have to say because I never get to hear what you have to say about this whole thing.
James.
James, what's going on?
Why are you so pissed off at all of us?
He's just over here steaming.
Yeah.
What a bunch of idiots.
Chewing gum with his shirt off.
I've been thinking about this anthology idea and just sort of chewing on that. And I think that someone should sort of pitch it because the franchise has been so fan generated. Like the fans have gotten behind it and kept it alive more than anything else. Maybe take fan fiction, and that way you wouldn't even need to really hire.
Which fan fiction are we talking about?
Well, you could choose from all of it, but then I realized that the reboot might have screwed that whole idea up. I mean, you might be messing.
I think
the universe seems different in the reboot.
And the universe
successful. It's not as pure. It's got a lot of things where you go, wait a minute, that wouldn't happen. The whole Prime Directive.
It's clunky.
The Prime Directive gets a little dicey in the.
Which I would say that in the second one, though, at least the Prime Directive was a little bit more like Captain Kirk is taken to task for breaking the Prime Directive.
Yeah,
there's at least some sort of.
I know, but at least there's some nod to it. But it seemed to me that it kind of went out the window.
Although, but you look at the old,
but even the old one too.
Series,
like,
Kirk
he broke it every single episode.
I know. I mean,
not every single episode.
Totally.
Okay,
every third.
I've got a question. Just a general Star Trek question.
General Star Trek question.
Okay, so if you could pick out of all the series, your favorite incarnation. Of any character, it's either the captain, what your favorite character, and what that character is in Star Trek, and why that would be.
Well, I mean, Captain Kirk. I mean, he's classic.
You're a Kirk person.
I am a Kirk person.
I'm a big Kirk person myself.
Yeah, I think
Kirk?
most people.
Yeah.
I relate to Bones.
You're all Kirk.
Because he drinks.
That amazing. I'm definitely Spock.
Really?
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Down the line.
No, I see that. I see that.
Cool.
That's really interesting. You're all Kirk.
Yeah.
No, we're not all Kirk. He's Bones.
I'm Bones.
They're Bones.
It's interesting.
No one
you're
likes
Spock.
Bones.
No. We
Bones was 85 when he was 30.
You're wearing a blue V-neck as well. Was that it?
That's true.
It's a nod.
Aha. Very nice.
So I'm surprised we never talked about the blue shirts, red shirts, and the yellow shirts.
Did you think the Yeomans were sexy when you were watching when you were younger?
Oh, yeah.
The Yeomans, I did.
Yeah.
I could have done without Janice Rand's weird beehive thing.
I couldn't figure out how they did that.
That was a weave, yeah.
I couldn't figure out how they did that.
The original weave, too. Let's put that on Star Trek's board.
Oh, my gosh.
Original weave.
Okay.
What haven't they invented?
And in Star Trek Classic, it was the first interracial kiss.
That was a big one.
Yeah.
Where
was
they
huge.
had the little guy with they're controlling everyone with their mind. Oh, that was big.
That was good.
Plato's children. Plato's
stepchildren.
Michael Dunn.
Favorite episode of the original episode.
Really?
No,
is that your favorite episode?
No, that's not my favorite one.
Okay, I'll tell you. Okay, Balance of Terror.
Yeah,
Balance of Terror. That's when.
Interesting.
That's
a great one.
The thing I love about Balance of Terror is so you basically have these two ships. You have the Enterprise and the Romulan ship. Okay, and you're basically having battles of wits between the two captains, Captain Kirk and the Romulan.
It's like a cat and mouse game.
And what I love,
run silent, run deep kind of thing.
Yeah. And what I love about that episode is really like towards the end where the Enterprise has defeated the Romulan ship, and they're actually able to see each other. And the Romulan captain, who's actually played by Mark Leonard,
right? He's great.
Actually has this great little speech where he says, in another situation, we would be friends. I might have called you friend. Right. And I thought,
and then Shatner says, "Are you hitting on me?"
No. See, why you wreck that?
Because that's what I do.
It's a great moment. But I'm just saying that's
episode.
okay. So that's one of my favorites.
James, yours.
This is one of those moments where I think you guys are seriously, after this, you're going to vote me off the show now.
Oh, here it comes.
It's confessional.
Oh, my God.
Okay.
It's not going to be the one where they go back to the planet.
No, go ahead. What is it?
I didn't know that there was a Star Trek episode called Interiors.
What is it, James?
This is worse than that, if you can believe it.
Okay.
Oh, no.
When I was a kid and I was watching syndicated television and reruns, I was more of a sitcom kid. I am probably one of the few people that you know that has not only have I not seen every episode of the original series, I can't remember sitting through an entire single episode of the original series.
What?
I can tell you for sure I've never sat through an entire episode. Oh, the phaser's being pointed at me. I've never sat through an entire episode of any of the spin-offs.
Okay.
I've seen most of the movies. I saw Attack of the Clones. No. I've seen
You almost had us.
Okay, that's not funny. I'm not laughing.
I've seen most of the movies. I didn't see all the.
Which Star Trek movie did you enjoy the most?
Okay. So is there a particular episode that you remember seeing half of?
Is there a particular half an episode?
So wait a minute. Are you saying you don't have one because you've never seen one?
There was one. Where
You've never seen Star Trek?
There's that one with the guy with the pointed ears.
Yeah,
exactly.
They were dressed like gangsters. Or
Yes.
Piece of
the action. That's a good episode. That's a good episode.
There was one where with this guy his face was like an Oreo, half black, half white.
Yeah. Okay.
Wait. You can't
let this be your last battlefield.
And that's actually a good one too.
Okay.
Actually, they were. That was the race. That was the race called the Hydrox.
Okay, Sean.
Ladies and gentlemen, this is probably my
because
last
they were black
episode
on
of
white
Monster
side.
High.
Right. Sean.
Enjoy being on the show.
James.
Thank you.
Okay, Sean.
Mirror. I love that.
I love Mirror.
That's a good one.
Especially at the time as a little kid, like the idea of like an alternate parallel universe. Like, what's that? Like, what a cool idea. You know, it's like in the alternate universe, they're all assholes.
Oh, yeah, they were so evil.
Yeah, they're all like militaristic.
Oh my God,
and violent.
No, and also what's great is their uniforms were just a little darker.
Yeah, and like
it was the
they
same
showed
uniform,
a little more.
But you know what?
And they had a
sash.
cummerbund. They had a cummerbund.
Yeah, but you know what? Uhura's was hot.
Yeah,
though.
and
they were cut low. They showed a little clear.
Remember she showed.
And Spock looked really cool with the beard. He looked
did.
very like devilish.
Looked badass.
Yeah, it was great. He was great.
I like that choice.
Matt?
But that was also a great episode though, because in that episode, Kirk kind of gets through to the bad Spock at the end.
Yeah,
it says, maybe you should think about this. The logical way is not always to destroy and not. It's cool. It's actually. Despite the dark universe, it's a positive message.
It would have been neat.
Spock's logic saves the day. That's who he talks to, right?
Yeah.
And you know what? It would have been great. It would have been great.
I will consider it.
It would have been. It would have been great to follow up that episode.
Yeah,
and guess what?
Yeah,
Deep Space Nine, they do.
Oh, that's right.
Three separate times, and then in Enterprise, they do it again, and they're all pretty entertaining. They're very good.
Yeah,
Matt's favorite episode.
Okay, my favorite episode. It's not going to surprise anyone because it's a lot of people's favorite episode, but it would be City on the Edge of Forever.
Oh, yeah.
That's the Harlan Ellison one.
Yeah.
Joan with
Collins.
Edith Keeler. Joan Collins is Edith Keeler, where he basically
Kirk's love.
Yeah, Kirk's meets the love of his life, but he has to save the future by allowing the love of his life to die. And it's just so filled with comedy, written by Harlan Ellison, filled with comedy, tragedy, some of the best acting, I think, in the series.
Yeah.
From everyone. It's like, also from Shatner.
Yeah.
He's kind of reined in. He's not so over the top.
Yeah,
but I
good.
have to also give a caveat to, I got to do a caveat because there's two kinds of favorite.
That's right. I think you're going to name my favorite. I think you're going to name my favorite.
Because I think
I want to hear your favorite.
Sue, what's your favorite?
Well, I have two because I'm on the other side of it. The ones that are campy.
Okay,
go.
It is when Captain Kirk gets to play a woman.
Oh yes, Turnabout.
That one's
Turnabout Intruder.
Yeah,
the last
the
episode.
very last Star Trek episode.
Yes. When they switch and he is Dr.
Janice Lester.
Janice Lester. And Janice Lester is Kirk. That is one of the most.
That is knee slapping funny.
That is knee slapping funny.
He's
and
like
then I
filing his
also
nails.
I like Miri.
Oh yeah,
you like that one?
Bonk on the head.
Bonk on the head.
But Turnabout Intruder with Janice Lester.
Janice Lester.
When he's
you guys laugh at that. You laugh at that.
Hysterical. When he is on the bridge being Janice Lester, and he's going, "You will obey my orders."
Yes, that's horrifying, man.
It's great.
It's great. I don't laugh at that.
So good.
That's great. That's a great game.
Also, another Shatner showcase like that is The Enemy Within, where there's the evil Kirk and
evil Captain Kirk.
Oh, yes, when he gets split up in the...
Stop pretending,
He
Janice.
goes into...
You know that one,
He
James,
kind of like
right?
sexually attacks
Jekyll and
Janice
Hyde.
Rand.
He goes into the transporter, and when he comes up, he's been split into two.
Yeah.
Two Kirks.
And they can't really... It's cool because he really can't exist either way.
Because the nice Kirk is like, he doesn't have any oomph left in him.
He's not a good
He needs his animal
he needs both
nature
together
to be a good leader.
Yeah.
And so he's kind of like a wuss. He's just, I don't know what to do.
You know what? But
he-
Dr. Janice Lester on the bridge when
That's my
when
Halloween
William
costume
Shatner,
next
William
year.
Shatner, because the idea that William Shatner, who looks like Kirk, is actually supposed to be this woman, and when he's standing there having a complete sort of female mental breakdown is one of the best moments.
Oh, it's great. It's great.
And it's William Shatner doing it.
Yeah.
That's great.
It's so enjoyable. Now, on the camp level, one of the ones I really like, one of my favorites.
I thought you were going to definitely say Janice.
No, that's a great one, though. That is really great. The one that I was thinking of was the Gamesters of Triskelion.
Oh, yes.
Which is...
That's a great
Okay,
one.
explain it a little bit.
Well, what these aliens, they grab Kirk, Uhura, and Chekhov.
Yeah.
And they bring them to this planet where they have to, these brains that are in a jar.
In a big shell.
In a big shell.
700 corpses
Yeah.
on the newcomer.
They-
on the newcomers.
They bet with each other
Yeah.
over these gladiatorial
Games.
sort of
Yeah.
games. Yeah.
Yeah.
And so...
And they're betting, and then Kirk,
there's this
Kirk
one
and Spock have to fight each other, don't they?
No, that's a different one.
That's a mock time.
That's a
yeah.
mock time, which is another great
when he
one.
goes
Another
back
great
to
one.
Spawn.
Right,
Yes.
right.
But this one,
He
He does. That's
true. Yes,
Just
true.
look
That's
at
right.
Go. They do. They
No,
spawn
yeah.
every 7
Okay,
You're right.
Triskelion.
But Triskelion, so we've got... So Kirk, of course, immediately gets as his trainer the hottest chick on the planet.
Huge breasts.
Angelique Pettijohn.
Oh, that outfit, and she has that
Green hair.
White. No, it's white. She's wearing
It's
silver.
I thought it was
this
green
silver
hair.
thing. It's
greenish
greenish.
gray.
Go-go boots.
It's
Yeah.
go-go boots. So it's go-go
And
boots.
she was
and
hot.
The first time I saw her,
Yeah.
it was one of those things where it was like, I didn't even know my penis could do that. Like, it's like I was like so shocked and pleased and appalled, and I didn't know what to feel. But anyway, so that's his trainer. So there's this whole scene where he's, Kirk does what he does.
Yeah.
His way of getting out of this situation is let's seduce the alien. So they're going on a little training run.
Yes.
And he
He
stops
gets
for
tired.
a rest.
He gets tired.
He gets tired. He stops and he starts chatting her up, and then and he goes, people on my planet, when they love each other, they do this thing called kiss. What is this thing called kiss? And like, got her. Works every time.
Now, do you think she was as sexy as 7 of 9?
Well, 7 of 9.
But for the time, for
the time,
60s, yes,
Yeah.
she was great.
And the sheer amount of skin that was shown.
Yeah.
I
But
think
7 and 9 is basically like the character from the X-Men.
Yeah.
She's basically naked in that outfit.
Yeah.
It's like she's
Right.
wearing
Like,
such, looks like.
Right.
And she,
right.
and she looks great.
She does look
She's
great.
really
Yeah.
great.
I mean, it's
and that's actually a great character, by the way.
Yeah, considering the character versus hotness factor in that show, certainly the saving grace of Voyager for me.
It's funny because some people do say that 7 of 9 saved that series.
It's a great character.
I like the Doctor.
Yeah.
The Doctor who's the hologram. The hologram Doctor.
Yeah, the Doctor's great. I like the
because
Doctor.
I like the idea of it, and I liked it when they brought it back. Didn't they bring him back in one of the current movies where they show up? Wasn't there a movie where they all of a sudden show up and they say,
yeah.
you have to defend? No, actually,
First Contact.
First Contact, all of a sudden he shows up where they walk through and they say, you need to hold off the Borg.
That's right.
Right. That's
Because
right.
he's a hologram.
And he says something like, I could see that you have wounds. Do you need an analgesic salve? Or,
Right.
Good stuff.
comedy moments.
Little bit of comedy. Nothing wrong with that.
Good comedy.
Speaking of comedy, now I know that you watched, Sue, pretty much all of the Next Generations.
No,
a good amount
the
of them.
Next Generation actually is so. Well, I was absolutely in love with Captain Picard.
Yeah.
And I do have this one particular. I used to do this long story, and I used to do it on stage, and I can't do it now because it would kill everybody. But there's nothing worse than having someone do material. So there was a moment. My friend of mine and I were sitting there watching Star Trek: The Next Generation. And at some point, it was all about the Klingon devil. Does anyone know the name of the Klingon devil?
That would be Fek'lhr.
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 Uh-huh.
Oh, I'm impressed.
All right.
Which is
I'm impressed.
Well,
Which is what I say when I catch my penis skin in my zipper.
Fek'lhr! Okay.
Not your penis, but your penis skin.
Just the skin.
Okay,
Yeah.
so Fek'lhr.
Anyway, so there's a point in this particular episode where an entity has entered the ship and then assumes the form of so it has this thing, and they say, well, she goes, I am Fek'lhr, and Worf goes, you are not Fek'lhr. And then the form turns into the shape of Fek'lhr, and
so full on like Klingon Satan.
It's Satan, and it literally looks like it looks like the little evil voodoo doll that's in the
Trilogy of Terror. We know it well.
Yeah.
Yes.
But big,
Yeah.
It's got that big wig.
Yeah.
But he's got the and he goes like this, and Worf looks at him with his face, and at the time we went like, you are Fek'lhr. That was the thing. Now,
so there's a dispute of whether he's Fek'lhr or not.
So my friend and I were doing this for endlessly to each other for the next week because we were hanging around, and like anytime we go, you are not Fek'lhr, and they go, ah, and they go, and he go, arr, and then anytime we go, you are Fek'lhr. We thought it was really, really funny. So there's a very long story about it. Became our private joke. We've annoyed everybody on the face of the earth, and there's nothing worse than a private joke between people, and people hate us because all of a sudden they're like, you are not Fek'lhr, you are, and come to find out. Years later, watching the episode, that's not what happens in the episode. And because I had the bit it's 15 minutes of going on about private jokes, and
I've optioned it.
But
without her knowledge.
It keeps repeating that particular line, but it goes off into the whole thing about private jokes and all that sort of stuff. And I'd been approached to go to Star Trek conventions to go do it. So because people would see it and go, you have to, called up and said, you need to do this on a Trekkie movie. You need to do this, all these sort of things. And I kept saying, no, because people who were really into Star Trek would go, that's not what happened. You know what I mean? It was
like your romanticized version when you were watching.
No, because it was us sitting there, and when the guy went like this, he went, we said out loud to each other, you are Fek'lhr.
Right.
And in our minds, that's what happened on the television.
Right, so you stopped listening from that point on.
We stopped listening.
And wrote your own episode.
And we wrote it, and it was hilarious. And from that point forward, in our mind, it was real until, I'm talking about 10 years later that I just happened to turn on and there's a late night thing at 1 o'clock on a weird channel. You go, oh, this, and I watch it. I go, oh, it's this. And you see the scene, you go, well, that's not what we've been talking about forever.
Although, if you do write your autobiography, it has to be you are not
Fek'lhr. People used to come. I would come. It was on a regular basis. People would come to shows, and I would come and I would go stand up when I get up on stage, and along the back, people had made banners that say "You are not Fek'lhr" and other things. People made buttons. I had an entire table of people that were wearing those hello stickers.
Yeah.
Who would come and they say hello, I'm Fek'lhr, and they're all wearing them.
Oh my god, that's awesome.
No, it became a thing, and then someone made me a T-shirt that says "You have no power" because that's the whole thing. You have no power. You are not Fek'lhr. That was the whole thing, and I have boxes of things that people sent me and made me because of this.
Wow.
I think Fek'lhr owes you a lot.
Yeah, I have the trading cards because people would come to the shows and they go and they get a set and they'd bring me the Fek'lhr trading card. And they're like, "Hello, this is for you."
I bet you've never received this before, huh?
But those people at least know how to spell the name. It upsets me when people spell it incorrectly.
Now I know what to get you for Christmas.
Okay, so we've talked about favorite episodes. How about a favorite movie?
Okay.
Oh, I think, well, that's easy for me.
Yeah.
I think. For me,
go ahead.
It's Star Trek II, The Wrath of Khan.
Wrath of Khan.
Yeah, most people
Love
kind
it.
of come down on that one.
I can watch it again and again.
But
It's just so good.
But I will say, for me, like Sean, 2 is like one of my favorites. But the one thing about this other movie is, look, I'm one of those guys who I brought my girlfriend, who eventually became my wife, to each of the movies.
You're married too?
I am, believe it or not.
Stunning.
I know it is.
Stunning
it
information.
All married.
I took
all
her.
of us.
I took my
Russian wives.
Okay,
I took my wife.
I would like to do a Monster Party podcast with the wives.
Yeah,
of this
That would be good.
It's been discussed.
Yeah.
But I brought my wife to Star Trek.
Not you guys.
No.
No,
we shouldn't be here.
You were
No.
not here.
Yeah,
Okay,
I
so,
agree.
if I can finish. So I took my wife to Star Trek 3, okay? Star Trek 3, which she was not a fan of, and she didn't know about the whole Star Trek thing. And I go, oh, honey, just stick with it. Well, I dragged her to Star Trek 4. The Voyage Home.
Okay.
She loved it.
Well,
and if you look at Star Trek 4,
kind of a chick flick.
No, it's more than that, Sean. Star Trek 4. The great thing about Star
Sean.
Trek 4. Great thing about Star Trek 4 is it's almost one of those things. When that film came out, Kirk, Spock, Dr. McCoy, the Enterprise, these things have become really iconic. They've been around for a while.
Right.
People who were not into Star Trek, they kind of knew about it. They kind of knew. When my wife came in with me to see that film, she absolutely loved it. She loved Star Trek 4. So that was the first Star Trek movie
that was a
she
big
really
hit, too.
enjoyed.
Horrible uniforms. Horrible uniforms.
I agree.
Yeah, well, okay, but
yes.
be that as it may,
It had
it's still,
those weird
I'm
white
just saying.
collars.
I'm
and
just
the-
saying.
Yeah, right.
This was the one that when I took my wife,
Yeah,
she
it was-
really
it was
enjoyed
the
it,
more
and
like-
we were able to really bond
I
over
think
Star
that was
Trek 4.
that episode was like. I mean, that movie was one that was more like. How do you say? It was more
The movie for the-
It was more accessible to general
Yeah.
audience.
The movie for the people who don't really like Star Trek.
Yeah,
Because
that's
it didn't take place
well,
in
yeah,
outer
no,
space.
you're right.
Most of it took
You're right.
place
In
You're
San
right.
Francisco.
There's a lot of comedy.
There
There's
is.
a lot of touchy-feely.
But fun stuff.
The
the whales.
Yeah,
Yes.
the whales.
I love the whales. You didn't like the whales?
The worst. How
No,
dare
what are you
call
talking
it
about the
chick
worst?
Flick?
It's
You
a-
call it a chick flick when just say it's a crappy movie.
No, it's not a crappy movie. It's a great movie.
No,
You didn't like the whales?
You're going to save a whale.
Yes, that was a great thing. Saving the whales.
Can I?
I'm just saying.
Can I
I'm just
jump in
saying.
here? Can I jump
That's
in
one
here?
of my favorites.
Can I jump here and say there are parts of that movie that I enjoy. The whale part, like the last act of that movie, I want to kill myself.
Okay. See,
When
you
they get the
forget.
whale onto the ship.
Yeah.
Look,
There be whales aboard.
guys,
Really?
That's real.
Really?
That's real whale sound.
And also-
That's real whale sound.
And it also was like the ship had to like an imbalance, like that was the heaviest thing they've ever carried. Was
Yes.
the whale. Remember, like, oh, we've never carried. Really?
It wasn't
You've
just
never
the way-
carried anything more
No,
than
no,
a
no, no,
whale.
no.
And
So
Prime Directive, you're giving transparent aluminum to earlier time and Earth?
Well,
like how many
yeah,
more
that's true.
laws can you destroy?
Oh my god!
In a movie.
I'm just saying. Look, you asked me. That was one of my favorites because my wife and I really bonded over that. There you go.
Okay.
Okay.
Wait.
My
Okay.
favorite is
Yours, Mr. Bitter.
Star Trek 5.
Go ahead.
Wow.
You've got to
Star
be,
Trek
you are,
5, The
you
Final
are,
Frontier.
You are so
You're not
kidding.
joking?
That
You are
movie, though-
so
Wait,
kidding.
wait. Clarify what Star Trek 5
Oh
is
my
before you
God.
start yelling.
Star Trek 5 is the only Star Trek movie directed and written by William Shatner. Now we can all agree. We all agree.
Yes.
We all
This
agree.
isn't when he's on horseback and they go back in time with the whole thing.
No.
That one's bad too.
worse.
but-
Generations.
This is worse.
Yeah.
That's the first one for the next generation.
Yeah.
First Contact
Yeah,
was,
yeah.
but then Generation.
But
Contact was the first one?
First Contact was the first all next generation.
and then Generations was.
Okay.
You've got to be kidding,
So
Matt.
Star
I think
Trek-
you're okay. 5.
Star Trek 2 is great. We all love that one.
We all
That's
love
hands
it.
down.
Yeah.
But Star Trek 5, I have a special spot in my heart for because it's Plan 9 from outer
Yeah.
space. Bad, hilarious.
Well, Matt, in the way
there are
you
so
said-
many funny
You have
things
to
in
remind
that
me
movie.
because I don't know them by
They
name.
go seeking
Sir
God.
Go seeking God.
They go.
Oh yeah.
Who
Lawrence,
has
what is
many
it?
names.
Lawrence
Luckenbill.
Luckenbill. As a crazed Vulcan.
He's the
who can-
Vulcan who smiles.
Can somehow like make people come in touch with their pain.
Pain.
And fear
Yeah.
and something.
Like,
It's
everyone has a secret pain, and he can bring it out.
except for
immediately.
Shatner, of course.
See,
That doesn't bother with him.
yeah. Why is it that we can feel everyone's pain but his?
Because he can't feel.
Yeah. No, but
Do they go on the planet and burn up? Is that a different an episode
No.
that I'm confusing
No.
it with
No,
when they
no.
beam down and they're all of a sudden everything's poisonous for the people that are like on the
That's
planet?
that's
classic
stepping
episode.
into Eden.
That's stepping in.
Stepping
Yeah,
into-
but
yeah.
not a feature.
Matt, the way that
but
you-
getting back to 5.
Wait. So,
Hold
Matt,
on.
the way that Matt said, like how in the old series you have like your one that you really love and you have like your campy episode.
yeah.
That's how I feel about Star Trek V: Final Frontier. If you watch that movie, it feels a lot like the old series.
So
in,
funny.
in a fun, campy
It's
way.
so
It really is. It's
funny.
ridiculous, but it's entertaining.
Sean,
though.
do you know I have all the Star Trek films in DVD? And
I
they're
have them on
all
Blu-ray.
and they're all and Sean, they're all unopened except for Star Trek 5.
Well, you should
it still
watch it.
steals.
It's
You know
fun,
why,
though.
Sean?
It's entertaining,
It sucks.
though.
It's the worst one.
Hold on.
It's the
entertaining.
worst.
I need to hear-
It's not
James.
entertaining.
Larry, then
James.
I would like to borrow it and open it because I would like to watch it again, and I haven't had that opportunity.
No,
in a long
it has
time,
to
and I want you
remain
to
No,
contact
in
me.
package.
out of spite, it has to stay on my shelf, wrapped, sealed,
Did you
never
see
to
it in
be.
theater?
I'm coming up-
Did you walk out of
You
the
have
theater
his
like
address, right?
I would-
incensed?
I was blown away.
Really?
And I thought, oh my God, William Shatner has killed. This shows how much Shatner hates Star Trek. That's how I felt.
I think it was just him on an ego trip, and he made a movie that he wanted to make, and he was in complete control. So it was a Shatner.
Was Star Trek
James.
5 like the Spock's brain of the feature films?
Yes, I love.
Yes!
Oh no, I love Spock's brain.
James, you're absolutely correct.
Wait,
Spock's
Oh.
brain was the first episode of
Why are
the
we
third
yelling?
season.
Yes.
And you're right. It was like
excited.
totally silly and ridiculous.
Spock's brain was so much better than Star
it
Trek
was silly and
5.
ridiculous.
Okay,
No,
wait
it
a
wasn't.
minute.
It makes
You're
total
kidding.
sense, Sean.
Calm.
I'm just saying that it makes total sense.
Calm.
Hey, we're all friends.
We're all friends.
No,
here.
we're not
for the
friends
next 5
right
minutes.
now.
I don't understand why we're yelling.
We're yelling because
part of the
someone
way.
is totally ridiculous when he says that this is his favorite film.
But we can, because we have microphones,
Yes.
we can actually say,
Sue, thank God you're
you're
here.
totally
We need
ridiculous.
Sue to kinda
I'm just
calm
trying to
us down.
imagine listening to this
do
and
you
just like,
see-
after a while just going, would you shut up?
Do you see what I have to put up with?
Yeah.
Every episode?
So this is the thing. Spock's brain. Let's just deal with Spock's brain.
Yeah, it's a good episode.
It may be one of the best things that's ever happened on the face of the earth. Spock's brain.
Spock's brain.
Because there
Yeah.
is a point where the woman in the go-go boots,
Yes.
in the thing, this is one of my favorite moments where they're talking about it, and she looks at him and she goes, brain, what is this brain?
Yeah, that's a great moment.
I, as a woman,
Yeah.
It's kind of like the motto that you live by, right?
It is. And I was just trying to imagine the writer's room in that situation where they're like, well, women don't have anything. Unless they have a man that they can attach, some sort of communication device to their brain, they won't be able to function.
right.
So this is a planet of women that have no way. They're walking around like ducklings, blind ducklings running to walls. They finally find a man with a brain. They put a little electrode in there, and then they can run the planet.
Right,
right.
It's the
Makes
most.
sense.
It is. I mean, Star Trek is incredibly sexist. The first thing. It's
Sure.
insanely
Oh, yeah.
sexist.
Well,
insanely
absolutely.
sexist. It is. Oh, sure. Okay, women have positions of mini skirts.
Yeah.
and delivering,
Yeah.
delivering. Sign this,
Yeah.
Captain
Yeah.
Kirk.
They answer
there's
the
a,
phone.
There's a woman in communications and
Yeah, they answer the phone.
Yeah, but they answer.
She's
they
the
answer-
receptionist.
They answer the phone and they deliver stuff.
I'm with you. I hear
It
you.
is.
I hear you.
But
There's a French Starfleet maid.
Okay, but Sue, they are there.
Let's
Sue,
not pretend it
Sue,
isn't.
I see your point, but Sue, they are still there on the bridge. And,
No,
and
they're
this
not.
is 1966, though, Sue.
I get it. I get
Okay.
it. It doesn't mean there's a lot of things.
It's
in
still
1960
bullshit. Yeah.
I'm just saying. I'm not saying. Oh, I hate it because
Yeah.
of that. But let's just accept the
right.
fact that it was insanely sexist.
Yeah.
But that particular
yeah.
because anytime they ran into any female alien,
Yeah.
or anything, they were in a skimpy outfit. I mean, it was.
God bless
I
them.
love Star Trek.
Yeah.
I love this
Remember
show.
when
I have
space
no
was
problem with it. but-
clean and good?
Remember when space had cleavage? Remember that? Remember when you could just stick your dick in space? Remember
man.
that?
Man,
Oh, boy,
man,
I
want to take space home.
I think.
I want to take Spoon and
I'm
grab it.
talking up space tonight.
Wow, I think
Yeah.
we keep going on and
Hey,
on.
wait. So
But
wait a minute. So
the brain is with the
Okay.
that is great, and I also
great.
love.
quote, too.
I also love.
I had the quote, Sean.
That's great. That's excellent.
I love the idea that that's the guys in the writers' room.
That's what I was
Yeah.
thinking about.
I love the idea of hey guys, look,
Okay.
this is the last season. Why don't we start out fresh right out of the gate? Just tell the truth.
Yeah, there's a planet. Okay, wait. Hey, fellas, settle down. There's a planet run by women. What do they need? What do they need?
Yeah.
Okay, I mean, because it's run by women. So, I mean, we'll get the women. We'll get in there. So there's a planet run by women. So, guys, let's just throw out some ideas of what you think we're going to need.
I don't tell some brains. Maybe.
Yeah.
Maybe a brain.
Hey, Matt's got something here.
No, not
Matt's got
brains. I'm
something
sorry,
here.
one brain.
One brain. Yeah,
That's enough,
yeah,
right?
That would be
That's
it.
enough to power the
That's
whole
enough.
planet.
That's
away.
enough for them to get coffee,
Now,
right?
look. In fairness, though, what these women who don't seem to be very bright. Remember, they put on the helmet, which is the teacher that has all the knowledge.
Yeah, but the reason the teacher was fed by a man's brain.
That's
Yeah.
right. That's right.
That's how it was. They had to. That's
But
why
didn't
they
they
had stolen.
Didn't they like it? But it was a very
Spock's
logical,
brain.
controlled brain. It was a very logical brain.
Yeah. Sure.
Oh, don't go down this road, Larry.
Sure.
Sure.
Yeah, they didn't.
You don't want your wife hearing this podcast.
No, because if they had stolen Kirk's brain, all the women would just be having sex with each other through the rest of the episode.
Right. Yeah.
It would just be like, this planet is going off the hook.
Yeah. Every woman would be trying to find the more stupid woman to try to have sex with.
Yeah, they would put the helmet of the teacher on the head, and you would just hear da 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 da.
Oh. Tell me what to do. Oh, try to fuck her. Okay. Yeah. That's it. Okay, fine. I guess that's it.
I think that's like a whole other episode.
But going back to Star Trek 5.
Yes, please.
So speaking
of, what is it that you like about 5?
Yeah.
I mean,
well,
is it just because you like
camp?
it because
of its
it's
silliness, right?
Well, it's not camp. It's terrible in a way that, like, Plan 9 is terrible. It's so terrible that it somehow becomes good. It's like The Room.
Sublimely
The movie
terrible.
The Room. You know, it's so, like, for example, this is probably one of my favorite scenes of all. So they got this whole horde of people that they're trying to distract.
Yeah.
So what's the idea?
I know where you're going.
They send Uhura out
to do the
naked
fan dance.
To do a fan dance. And that was the plan that won.
I remember that.
And no one says, they could just shoot at you. Who's the feather lady up there? I think she's hostile. Why don't we all shoot at her?
And
when that happens, as soon as I saw that, I was like, oh, this is a new level of anti-genius.
We don't mean that Nichelle Nichols didn't look good or anything. It just seemed like such a ridiculous thing.
It's nonsense.
It's nonsense. It is.
Well,
it is.
This reminded me of another one of my favorite episodes of the original, and that is the planet that's overcrowded. And you have to get
that's a good one.
Where they have to get the disease. They're trying to. They bring Kirk because he carries the thing. So to introduce disease to the planet,
Gideon,
herpes.
Herpes.
Can you die of herpes?
Introduce herpes.
Wait, Sean, what is it?
Simplex,
Is it the Gideon one?
No. Oh, no. It is Gideon.
It is Gideon.
It is Gideon.
Gideon.
Mark of Gideon.
Mark of Gideon.
Wow.
And that's
actually a really where they've made the inside of the Enterprise, and they've created and the young girl is part of the royalty of the planet, and she's
the daughter.
Herself,
she's the daughter,
and she's running around in that space.
Yes.
I really thought, and the whole idea, because those were those little moments that I thought was Star Trek when you think about it. I mean, certainly as a kid, I wasn't aware of it, but when you look back at it, and if you're analyzing it, where they touched on to things like overpopulation.
Totally.
They actually did some stuff. Sometimes they touched on things that were serious subjects. They didn't do it very well,
but they tried.
They tried.
Yeah,
racism.
The racism thing with the black and white
guys. I thought that was actually a good episode. And you have to understand, so this is like 1966 to 1968. And they're trying to tell these stories in the best way that they can. They let's talk about something that's like make a social comment on today's society, but what will disguise it in world of science fiction a little bit.
It's just the only thing about that episode is that it's handled so clumsily, whereas in other Star Trek episodes, those same kind of themes, like a private little war, which sort of emulates.
Oh, the war where they're all being
with
sent
the
to the chambers.
The Magatu.
What about the war with the death?
Oh, yeah. I love that one. A Taste of Armageddon.
Right, the insensitivity of war, like you just.
Yeah. So they take out the horror of war, and so war continues forever and ever and ever.
And all those kind of things, those themes are handled so well in those episodes. When you see, which was the black and white one, which one was that called?
Let This Be Your Last Battlefield.
Yes,
with Frank Gorshin.
Frank Gorshin, and he's always great and everything.
He is great.
And the whole thing was the races were the people who were black on the right side were against the people who were black
it was like
on
the
absurdity.
It was the absurdity.
And so pointing out the absurdity of it.
He goes like, "Why didn't you like it?" Well, is it obvious?
Yes.
Well, he's black on the left side. I'm black on the right side. Like, it was great.
But it's just so. I mean, like the idea that any race would actually be born. I mean, the whole thing is just.
I know, but that's
absurd.
But his makeup's left on the left side.
That's where you draw the line. That's ridiculous. If that's where you draw the line, that's absurd.
Yeah,
that
it's
is
absurd.
I'm telling you, I can't explain the way I am.
No, but that's hilarious. It's hilarious.
And my rules.
The entire Star Trek thing,
but it's more than that. But it's more than that. It's also so heavy-handed.
Well, yeah, it was.
Yeah, but you know what? We're mostly the audience needed a little bit of a heavy-handed slapping around.
Well, you might be right about that.
Well, Sue, which movie is your favorite?
I do like First Contact just because I like I like
First
the idea.
Contact is good.
The reason why I like it is because
enjoyed that.
I like the First Contact. I'm not saying it's my favorite movie.
It's not perfect.
It's not perfect, no. But I'm really into the Borg.
The Borg was a great alien race that was introduced.
A great invention.
Yeah.
And
Yes.
I the whole idea of the Borg. I also, I didn't really need, Alfred. What's her name? Alfred
Woodard.
Alfred Woodard looking at it and going, Captain Ahab and your little ships.
You're not getting the Oscar for this.
No, I'm not.
Yeah.
But I liked it. I liked the darkness of it. I thought that whole thing, the Queen, and trying and the idea of putting skin onto data and that this was he was going to get really there was the creepiness and a dark.
It was creepy, very creepy.
But it had, of course, the stupid thing that happened, the battle of the anti-gravity battle and the array where they go out to try to jump around. And there's some stupid stuff in it.
A really big crash scene in that with the ship crash.
No, that's Generations. Which is one of the better scenes in Generations.
It's actually pretty cool.
That's where they take the disc, they separate.
That's actually pretty cool.
Yeah,
and actually, that scene, because when I saw it at the Grauman's Chinese, which is a great screen.
It's a beautiful screen.
And when that happened because at the time, the special effects of the disc crashing,
right.
The crowd went insane.
Yeah.
They applauded that. They were like,
was
"Oh
very
my
cool.
god!" It was really cool.
Yeah, it was, like you said, one of the few cool things in that movie. That's the movie with that's the one with Malcolm McDowell, right?
Right.
Where the entire fate of the universe kind of depended on Malcolm McDowell and Shatner fighting in a catwalk.
Yeah.
Right. That was
he sets up a telescope. Looking
I know.
Yeah.
And Captain Kirk just trying to have a fight without busting through his girdle.
Oh my God!
He was really thick.
Considering they're going to kill Kirk, this iconic character, it's kind of a letdown. It's like
it was. It was not. But I hear now, jumping ahead, I hear that in the next J.J. Abrams movie, they're bringing Shatner back.
No.
Yeah.
Are you serious?
That's the rumor.
Buzz. That's the buzz on the street.
Somehow he's probably going to be probably the young Kirk making an old Kirk.
Just like what they had an old Spock,
which was stupid.
Yeah,
but
I agree.
I'd like to jump back a little bit to First Contact because Sue.
I have a personal relationship with that movie.
Really?
That movie hits you in a way that's more than just the filmmaking, the storytelling, the acting, the special effects.
This film touched you.
It touched you. Maybe in two more ways.
I don't know how to tell the story really quickly.
Yeah, make it quick.
Okay. Then make it long.
Okay, I'll make it quick. Okay, so it's a piece of information. I had a relationship with a gentleman who had a very difficult time, substance abuse problem.
Okay.
And it was not good.
Okay.
And my family was not fired up about it. And of course, it doesn't help that I have the Irish family that if something, if you walk in and you say to your dad, you go, "No, I'm not drinking." He'll go, "Well, do you want wine?"
Yeah.
That means you're not drinking. Yeah. So anyway, he was a real. It was a dark and awful chapter, and he's moved on, and I think he's clean and sober and safe somewhere in this planet.
Great.
Anyway, he will remain unnamed. Anyway, it was a tradition with my family because my sister is such a Star Trek fan. Mm-hmm. Her laundry room. She had special tiles made into the Star Trek. She has the Star Trek insignia is the center tile, which is like a it's like a manhole cover.
Whoa!
And the entire it's all tiled with Star Trek, and all the cookie jars that are made, that all these things they line above the cabinets. Every single one of them. Yeah. It's action figures, and it's Star Trek.
Star Trek.
She's a serious Star Trek fan.
Serious.
Okay.
And that's her little where she was allowed to do it in the house. So anyway, so it's kind of it's sort of my family. Anyway, we go to movies all the time as a family. Thanksgiving Day or Thanksgiving weekend, we go to films as a group. And we're all together, and it's my brothers and sisters, my nieces and nephews, and everybody there. And we're lined up in the thing, and it's a Star Trek, and it's the First Contact, and everyone's very excited because it's the new movie, and it's the thing, and we're all tied in. We're like, oh my gosh! And it's Thanksgiving, my whole family. The movie comes on, we're watching the movie, and my sister does the same thing I do, and it goes like, da 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 da. We're like, I can't believe it, we're here. And my niece is the same way. Everyone's pretty stupid. Watching the movie, fantastic. it's going to be, we have to get, whatever his name to do the warp speed into space.
Yeah.
So it will attract the Borg, the Borg are there, the whole thing, that they move back in time, all that sort of stuff. Anyway, it's at the end of the movie, the ship lands, and you're going, oh my gosh, who is first contact? And the thing opens up, and and the person walks out, and everyone's waiting, and the person reveals that they are a Vulcan.
Vulcan, yes.
And that was my old boyfriend.
No.
And what happens...
You've got to be kidding.
And my entire family goes... you're going to know what his name is. They all go in the theater when everyone's having this because this is opening day, right? So the theater is full of Star Trek fans,
right?
And everyone's sitting there in silence, like, who is first contact?
Yeah.
And they do it, and it pulls the gut, and my family goes, "Oh my god!" My whole family. The noise that erupted from 12 Irishmen who had been probably, had a few pops where they're like, oh my God! Because everyone, it was just like ruined this kind of magical moment.
What are the odds?
What are the odds of that?
What are the odds in terms of the fact that for me personally, who was first contact? As a real Star Trek fan,
ex.
I'm a little embarrassed. I'm a little embarrassed to say I was kind of into that,
Yeah.
And then you go, oh shit, are you kidding me? But then the next scene where we were laughing really hard, if anyone remembers,
yes,
they cut away as they start. The long shot of the camera starts pulling away. And what's the name of the character who
Zephyrin Cochrane?
Zephyrin Cochrane is there, and he's having the Vulcans do shots of whiskey.
Yeah.
And this person has no capacity to handle shots of. It was like,
there's my ex, and he's off the wagon.
He's off the wagon. Oh my God, he's shooting up again. So
oh man,
that's insane, fantastic.
Wow.
That's amazing.
It's amazing that wow, if. I'm imagining my exes showing up in every one of my favorite movies.
But not only this thing that you've been so involved in all your life, in the story of Star Trek, what First Contact has been built to. It has been built to so often. It's like, where did it start? It started with this drug addict.
That is the most incredible story.
Who is now, by the way, incredibly clean and sober.
That's great. That's great. That's awesome.
All that sort of stuff.
Yeah. What a great story.
Through Vulcan philosophy. He's,
the Vulcan mind meld, I believe.
Exactly. All right. Well, before we wind this thing up, there's one last thing that we should talk about real fast.
Okay.
And that is the animated series.
Oh, yeah.
Did you guys watch that? Were you ever a fan of that?
I did.
Okay, well, that's 70s? It. That's our show.
No, I did. I had the same issue with the Planet of the Apes TV series. It was all very limited. The animation just wasn't that great.
But the artwork is beautiful.
It did.
The stories were good, actually.
Where is it played? Where is it?
It was Saturday morning TV.
It was like 20 episodes, right, Sean?
Wasn't it Filmation?
It was Filmation.
And it was the original cast, too.
Yeah.
And it was, the original cast. And you could tell that, again, with Shatner, there was a little bit of, there were certain...
What's happening over here?
We got Tribbles, yeah.
Yes, and they even did, there's the classic episode, Trouble with Tribbles.
Yeah.
In the animated series, they did a follow-up called More Troubles, More Tribbles. Mm-hmm. And they actually got the voice of, now I can't remember that actor.
Of the original Tribble?
Cyrano Jones.
Cyrano Jones, Joe Schmo.
Yeah.
It's not Joe Schmo.
Oscar Crambin.
Yeah, but, okay.
Yeah, that guy.
Tyler Meng.
Yeah.
Chichi Samoi.
But it was kind of interesting that they actually brought it was after the classic series had ended, and they thought, oh, okay, we'll do this for kids, and
they won an Emmy,
actually
didn't
intelligent stories.
An Emmy?
No. Yeah, they were.
I
don't know if they won an Emmy.
I think it did.
Well.
Yeah.
That would be impressive.
No, it was amazing writing. They got all the original writers, and some of those episodes are really great. So if people out there have not watched these, they're available on DVD. They're worth a watch. There's mostly original cast members. Shatner,
most of them.
I think, was doing it on the phone.
Yeah,
he's not at his most dynamic.
It's so weird when you hear that sort of the line and you hear someone beep in while during someone's line for call waiting.
Yeah. Do you know the famous outtake that they do with Shatner that's gone around called where he's being directed by the guy, and the guy says it's an act of sabotage, and so the guy who's directing him says no, it's sabotage, and Shatner goes, "You say sabotage, I say sabotage. Don't direct me. It sickens me." I just got that episode on 16mm.
All right, well, I'll have to check. I'll have to check that out.
No one picked as their favorite episode.
What's
E
that?
Pluribus Unum. The whole thing.
E plebnista, we the people.
Yeah, that's an interesting episode. It's not my favorite, but it's an interesting one.
No one picked it.
By the way, if you're still wondering who played Cyrano Jones in Trouble with Tribbles,
Yes.
it was
Stanley Adams.
Thank you.
Good old
Thank
Stanley
you,
Adams.
Sean. I knew you would
Great
get
character
it.
actor.
I knew you would
Yeah,
get it.
you,
I knew that
Internet.
if you put on your brain helmet, you would figure out the answer.
Well, we could
Brain. What is his brain?
We could keep going on and on and on.
And seriously, I think we really need to do another.
We have to do another Star Trek episode because I want to talk more about the aliens, or I should say the monsters of Star Trek.
Yeah, that would be.
I want to talk about more
yeah.
toys, but we'll save
And we
it.
also didn't talk about the final series.
Yeah, well,
yeah,
you know what?
yeah.
So
we didn't touch on the final
Enterprise.
series, Enterprise.
So we'll have to,
which is a good series.
So Matt, we'll have to bring Sue back to do this yet again.
Please.
Absolutely.
Yes.
I'm going to get my brain first. Hey, thanks, you guys. I'm really honored to be here.
And
I mean,
Thank you.
seriously, because I am. This is not a group I normally hang out with. I'm pretty.
Nor
Of that, I'm sure.
I'm into it.
Nor would you choose to, would you?
No. Are you kidding me? You think I can have this conversation with anyone else? Are you kidding me?
No, I'm
Fantastic.
sure that's the truth.
Yeah.
Yes.
Oh.
And let's do a shout out to our listeners. You can find us on YouTube at Monster Party TV, also Facebook at Monster Party TV, and Twitter at Monster Party HQ.
Nicely said.
That's great, James.
Yeah. Well, this has been a journey across space and time.
It's been out of
and
this world.
We have gone where no people have gone before, I
No
believe.
podcast
No
has gone
podcast,
before.
at least, yes. I am Matt Weinhold.
I'm Sean Sheridan.
I'm Larry Stroth.
And I'm James Gonis.
And I'm Sue Murphy.
Keep America strong.
Watch Star Trek. Sweet.